Hello! In this video, we will look at how invoicing works for all cases. To do so, let's go to the Finances area where we can find several buttons to manage invoices. First, let's click on the button Cases to open a list of all existing cases. In this example, the list is sorted by the amount of accumulated bills. Each row represents a case. The column Contact shows which client the case belongs to. The column Days indicates how many days have passed since the last service. The column Credit indicates the credit balance on a client's account. A credit is always available for all cases. When a client has several cases and still has credit in the accounting, the credit is displayed for each case. But the credit will of course be entered only once. So don't be mistaken when you see a credit several times in the column Credit. It only means that the credit is available for all of this client's cases. The column On Account shows the balance for invoices and partial invoices that have not yet been recorded. This amount is associated with a specific case. Invoices and partial invoices may be recorded only for a specific case. By clicking on the header of a column, you may rearrange the list in ascending or descending order. It is often helpful to filter cases by account manager. Say we want to see all the cases managed by Michael Doe. The case with the greatest potential is that of Mrs. Green. A double click opens the dossier window. Here we can modify the services and create the invoice. We have learned how to do so in the previous video. For this example, let's create an invoice without printing it, so the invoice remains temporary. After you close the dossier, you can see that the case of Mrs. Green has moved to the bottom of the list. There are no more services to be invoiced. We can also find the newly created invoice under Receivables, more precisely under Unprinted Invoices. We will take a closer look at the three lists under Receivables later. You don't have to open the dossier window to create invoices. The icon at the bottom of the window allows you to do so immediately. Now, there is nothing left to invoice, and the invoices created are easily found under Unprinted Invoices. Here, you may also easily delete temporary invoices. Select the invoices you wish to delete and click on the trash bin icon. The amounts to be invoiced are instantly transferred back to the Cases window. Don't worry, the services included on each invoice are kept as well. In the case list, we have even more options. There are various templates ready to be used that are often handy. Prior to invoicing, the assistant often presents the lawyer with the draft invoice. We call this list an invoice proposal. Edits can then be made by the lawyer directly in the system or by the assistant on the basis of handwritten notes. Let's say that certain services should not show up on the invoice. How do you hide these services? First, open the dossier and select the services you would like to hide. In the Action menu, select Hide Selected Services. It's this simple! Now you can print the invoice proposal once again. We are done with the main points of the case list. Now let's look at the receivables. Here we find three lists that reflect the life cycle of invoices. The list Unprinted Invoices contains the invoices created temporarily and not yet printed. The list Outstanding Invoices shows the invoices that have not yet been paid. Finally, the list Settled Invoices contains all the invoices paid or offset. Let's start with the Unprinted Invoices. As in all other lists, you may search, filter, and display additional columns. By clicking on the printer icon, you may print one or several invoices. Each invoice may also be shown as a draft. From here, you may make a temporary print by clicking on the small printer icon on the left side of the toolbar. A temporary print does not modify the status of the invoice, and the invoice is still considered unprinted. It is only when you print by clicking on the big printer icon in the bottom right corner that the invoice is finalized and automatically moved to the list of outstanding invoices. One or several invoices may also be selected and printed directly. Let's continue with the list of outstanding invoices. The column Amount Due shows the amount still due for each invoice. The column Days indicates how many days have passed since the invoice was sent. The last column indicates the status of the statement. A grey dot indicates the invoices for which you should send a reminder. The numbers 1, 2, or 3 indicate the number of reminders that have been sent for this invoice. A blue cross indicates that statements have been stopped. A red cross indicates that all reminders have been unsuccessful. The invoice is then subject to enforced payment. A reminder is issued by clicking on the respective icon. The next statement level is then selected automatically. Now let's issue a second reminder for this client. After selecting the invoice, we click on the Statement button. The statement is shown on the screen. It may be printed and archived as a PDF document as usual. Now the number 2 appears in the list. The levels may also be modified. To do this, just click on the Statement button again. A warning appears that a statement has already been created for this invoice. Here you can also choose to edit the statement level. On the new window, you can simply delete levels. On the original window, the red number changes back to 1 and the grey dot reappears. If you want to ensure that the client no longer receives reminders, you may also choose to stop statements. To do so, open the record of the invoice and authorize modifications by clicking on the padlock. Now select Stop Statements in the menu Statement Scheme. Save the invoice and you will see the icon for Stop Statements in the last column. For Mr. Emery, we want to add reminder fees to the statements. Open the invoice with a double click, unlock the invoice and open the Scheme Editor. The Scheme Editor allows you to create and select various statement schemes. In our example, we have created 3 statement schemes. The Fast scheme includes reminder fees of £20 for the second reminder. This is exactly what we need. Now it is time for a closer look at the Invoice window. We have already seen this window several times. It shows us how the invoice is recorded in the database. The printed invoice is only a presentation of the invoice record in the database. For security reasons, the invoice must be unlocked before modifications can be made in the invoice settings. The only exception is the payment area at the bottom of the window. Once unlocked, various settings may be edited. For instance, you may modify the date of the invoice. The fields in the top right corner are also unlocked. Here you may modify the period of the case, the executives, and the reference number if necessary. The area underneath gives an overview of the invoice content. You may switch between a global view and a view of the services. In the field Due, you may authorize an installment payment by clicking on the small arrow next to the 1x. If you click on the number itself, a new window will open that shows you the installments and payment details that are managed automatically by timeSensor Legal. If you wish, you may also enter your own details. Let's close the invoice and open a draft. Here you can see the additional page including the payment schedule. Let's now move to a more pleasant topic, the payments received. If you have noticed a payment on your account, or if you receive a cash payment, you must enter the payment directly in the relevant invoice. Open the record of the invoice. Payments are entered in this area. Select the type of payment in the Action menu. You may leave the suggested description as it is or enter your own. Select the payment date and enter the amount received by clicking on Enter. Save the invoice. It will automatically be moved to the list of settled invoices. One last example. This invoice was paid by transfer, a cash payment and a free transaction. The remaining differences are automatically adjusted. When the invoice is settled and saved, it disappears from the list of outstanding invoices. The payments received are simultaneously integrated into the firm's accounting. The accounting and the menu ledgers are explained in the next video. That was it! Thank you, and see you next time!